Ginger, yeah, so the question becomes, what's happened over the last little while? So, nothing. It's all been about the same. Nothing has really changed year to year. It's very hard to find the changes. The only real thing that we've been seeing, other than the GPL v3 movements, which are remarkable, is that Apache is growing a little bit, Mozilla is dipping a little bit, Perl is dipping a little bit, and the per project licenses probably show the most indicative movement. What's happening to Mozilla that people are using their license less? It really more reflects that they have one main project, and there's not a lot of forking. What does it mean that Perl, with apologies to Randall, is being used less and less? Well, it means that their licenses are being used less and less. And so you can learn certain things about movement of languages from these things. And the AGPL, which is a license that includes web distribution as one of its key factors on what it requires from you, the people who might use the code, has been growing quite slowly, actually way more slowly than any of us expected, frankly. So it's only grown to about 31,000 project files. So that's my research report, as it were, on the state of open source software. But open source, what it needs from you hasn't changed at all. For open source to change and to grow and remain vital, it has to have people like yourselves working on it, with it, using it, bitching about it, to Mark and John here, and to Dude, which, by the way, good first name. It needs all of you. Otherwise, it will never, ever get better. And it'll stay the same. But I am happy to say that over the last 15 years, it has never, ever stayed the same. So that's a really good thing. That's who I am. And Mark said that you might want to ask some questions. I'm happy to answer anything about Google, of course. And we wanted to leave some time for you to get to the next session. So we actually have to wrap it up in like 5 minutes. So any questions? I mean, there is an obvious question. I'm waiting for the first person to ask it. Yeah. Is Google using Asterix? So we don't use it in Google Voice. So Google is plagued by an infrastructure that's pretty remarkable, but is wildly incompatible with anything you may ever have seen. We have these very large distributed systems that run on our infrastructure with our system management software, with our backends and our everything. And it's almost like, it's very, very hard for us to adopt things like Asterix and scale them the way that we scale things at Google inside our data centers. So no, we don't use it for Google Voice. We do mess around with it in different projects, and we like it, clearly. And I'm very happy that you guys are in the Summer of Code and the rest. But we don't actually use much Asterix. Now, that said, the question is not, in this case, do we use Asterix in things like Google Voice, but are we going to enable SIP connectivity again on Google Voice? And that's going to come later, because we screwed it up, right? I don't know if you followed what happened with the SIP connections with Google Voice, but there was a security problem with the way we were doing pins. And I know that Asterix has solved this problem 5 years ago, and allowing, yes? Yeah. And allowing real pins that were more than, 4 characters and crackable in 5 seconds. So the real answer is, when can we be friendly to Asterix-based PBXs? And other SIP clients, whatever, but there's really only one, right? And that's going to come later. It's funny because you think the Google Voice team, Google, it's huge, oh my gosh. It's actually quite small. It's a very effective small team. It's actually less than 20 people, depending on how you count people, because of course they're using those back ends that I talked about, which are more people, right?
Asterix also supports Google Talk.
Yes, and I'm actually really happy about that. You incorporated libjingle, I guess? You ended up writing it. So he said, Asterix supports Google Talk. And that's actually something I'm really happy about, because Google Talk it's XMPP, man, And us using commonly accepted protocols that are free and fair for everyone to use is the way to go, because that's the right thing to do. So, there you go. You have a question? Oh, you have the microphone. Just raise your hand, he'll run. He's very sporty, he can. Or I can let you all go. There's somebody. Yeah, we shut off the mic until we hear your question.
more Perl or more PHP? Which one?
You know, that came off like this. More Perl or more PHP? Oh, you want to see that? Okay, this is actually really fun. This is a great way to end this, and it takes like five minutes, you know. This is a really fun thing to do. I have to find the presentation, but that shouldn't be hard. I keep backups, you know. Wait for it. Wait for it. Where is the damn thing? It was in 2009. I give too many speeches. There it is. Okay, so this is actually absolutely the right crowd for this particular thing. So here we go. Okay, can you see that? Is it up? There you go. Okay, so raise your hand if you think there's been more Perl or PHP code released into open source software. Perl, raise your hand. Wow. Okay, PHP. Keep them up. Are you ready? Here we go. PHP wins by more than 37 million lines of code. Okay, so next one. Is there more Trough or Ruby? You saw this before, right, Randall? So raise your hand if you think it's Ruby. Now you guys are sussing me out. It's Trough. Yes, there's more than 88 million more lines of code. Ada or ActionScript. ActionScript's the part that goes into Flash. Now remember, this is released into open source, not ever written. So Ada, ActionScript, Ada. And it's mostly because people don't open source Flash. It's very hard to parcel out Flash files, it turns out. C or C++. Raise your hand if you think it's C++. Raise your hand if you think it's C. Well, that's kind of an easy one. Because people are like, I hate C++. Of course it's C. Isn't Astrix all C? It's not C++, right? Yeah. You know, the world of objects has a lot to offer, Mark. In the world of open sources, there have been more Fortran or Pascal. Raise your hand if you think it's Pascal. Raise your hand if you think it's Fortran. Pascal. I will point out that Ruby is actually quite small. As fashionable as it is right now, it's still sweet. Smalltalk or Objective-C? Raise your hand if you think it's Objective-C. Wow, you guys are pretty informed. It's Smalltalk. But we're talking, small amounts of code here. That's me. That's my session. And I don't have a session at 11:30. That's left over from the other talk I gave. So thank you, and keep up the good work with Asterix. I personally appreciate it. Google corporately appreciates it, but it's important. So keep doing important things. Thank you.